In my very first coding class, we were taught how to use the terminal to write, compile, and run all of our code. At the time, it felt unnecessary. Why bother with something that looks so old and clunky? But when I started my first real software job, I realized that terminal is everywhere. I was using it all day, every day. It's one of the most fundamental tools in coding, because in the terminal you have everything you need to move faster, solve problems quicker, and actually understand what's happening behind the scenes. Throughout the years, I realized that if you want to get serious at coding, you need to learn how to use the terminal. In this video, I'll show you the essential terminal commands that I used every day throughout my software development career, and these commands are commands that you can start using to code better today. So my name's Henrik, and I'm here to help you learn the foundations of software development, so let's get started. By the way, if you're in the early stages of your programming journey, I've got a special gift for you. It's called my 30-Day Beginner Coding Challenge. And it's a guide that will take you from no coding experience to building your first 4 projects. And the best part is it's free. It's a free gift to you. You can find the challenge in the link in the description, and if you download it and pay attention to what it says, you'll definitely learn some fundamental programming concepts that will give you a good foundation to your software development journey. Alright, so here's the terminal window on my Mac. When you open up terminal in your directory, it usually starts off in the home directory. And what I like to do when I first open up terminal is to do ls. And what ls does is it shows you all of the files and all the directories that are in the current folder or directory that you're currently in. So I'm going to do ls. So here we see these directories, applications, downloads, music, desktop, etc. And you can actually see this in the Finder or in your Explorer in your computer. So you can see it here. So here's the home directory on my computer, and you can see the same directories here or same folders here. These are the same ones that are listed here. So when you do ls, you're basically you just want to see all the files that are in here. Now say you want to go into one of these directories, kind of like how you would do in your Finder window or your Explorer window. You say you want to go into downloads, and then you want to see all the files that are in this folder here. You can change directory by doing cd. So you could do cd, then downloads, and then we do ls to see all the files and the directories inside downloads. There's nothing in there, and so we do ls to nothing shows up. But say we created a file here, and let's just call it new folder. And if we do ls here, we can see that new folder here. Okay, now say we want to go into another folder, like say we want to go into the applications folder. Right now we're in the downloads folder, but we can't go to the applications folder from this point. As you can see in the file system here, we can't really go back to the applications folder from here. We have to go back to the home directory here. So we do this back, see the folders you viewed previously. So we hit this button to go back to the previous directory, the directory that's containing the downloads directory. So if you want to do that in the terminal window, you have to do cd ... And then if you do ls again, look at all the files. Now we're back in the home directory, and now we can actually go into the applications folder. So we go into the applications folder, we change directories there, and then we do ls here. And then we see Chrome apps localized, and let's check our Finder window, and let's go into applications here. And then you see here's the Chrome apps directory folder. Okay, say we want to create a new folder in our home directory. So we can always just go to our Finder window and then right click and then hit new folder and then create a new folder this way. But a really simple way that we can do it is through terminal itself. And this is more simpler, a lot faster, arguably. And all we have to do is just do mkdir, and that's just making a new directory, and we're just going to call it terminal directory. So I've created a new directory, just one command, just type it all out, and then it's already there. So it creates the directory here, so terminal directory. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to delete or remove this directory. So you can do it the old-fashioned way and do it here and just move to trash, but a really fast way, and as a developer, you want to do it through terminal. So the way that you would do it is through the rm command. So this rm command is used for removing files and directories. I'm just showing you how to delete a directory because I already taught you how to create a directory through the mkdir command. So you have to do rm-r. R is for recursive. That means we want to delete this directory and everything that's inside it. And then F is to just force it without asking for confirmation. and then we do terminal directory. And if you're wondering how I was able to type this out really fast, I didn't type it out really fast. I just typed in TER, and then I have something called tab completion, which if I just type in the first letters of a directory or a file, and then I do tab, it will just auto-complete it for me. And so this is how you start to get really fast in using terminal. So we delete that, and then we do ls, and then we can see that the directory is no longer there. So these are basic and essential commands that you need to know in order to navigate your file system through terminal. And this is a very basic and important skill. And this skill, that I learned this actually in the first week of my first coding class in university. They really wanted us to learn this, and this skill is something that I've carried through in my first software job, and I still use it today in my current software job. Here's something that nobody really talks about. Being able to navigate your file system through terminal actually makes you look like a real coder. If we were in a coding interview and I asked you to code something and the only way that you could navigate the file system was through the File Explorer or a Finder window, that would give me the impression that you're not a real developer. But on the other hand, if you were able to show me that you could compile the code, write the code, and run the code in a terminal, then that would give me the impression that you do know what you're doing and that you're actually a real coder. Alright, now let's go into the commands where we write our code, compile our code, and run our code. And these commands I also learned in the first week of that first coding class in university. And that's because in that class, we did all of our development in terminal. And I think it's because in that class, they wanted us to focus on the programming language itself and how to use it instead of focusing on all these development tools. And so terminal is the most basic coding environment that you can have. And so we can actually write, run, and compile our code in terminal. Now, to create and edit files in terminal, we need to use a terminal-based code editor. And there are many different code editors that you can use. You can use VI, you can use Emacs, or you can use Nano. Those are the common ones. I like to use VI because I can always trust that VI is installed. And so I'm just going to use VI. So you just run it like this, VI, and then we're going to create a hello.c program. So we run that, and then you can start writing your code here. Now, VI is a very powerful code editor. You can do a lot, but just for our purposes here, just to simplify things, I'm just going to show you how to write your code in it. So in order to write code, you have to go into insert mode. So in order to go into insert mode, you have to hit I, and then you'll see here at the bottom this insert. That means we can start typing here. So now we can start typing. So we're going to create our Hello World program here. So if you can do this in your coding interview, then they'll have the impression that you know what you're doing. So after we're done writing our code, you press escape to exit insert mode. And then now we can write commands, or we can execute commands in the VI code editor. So we do colon, and then you can see it at the bottom here. There, you can see the colon there. And then we do W for write and then Q for quit. But you can actually just do W for write and it will save it for you. And then you can do Q for quit. Or you can just type both at the same time, and then we write our file like that. And then there you go. So now we do ls, and then we can see hello.c is there. I'm going to make a directory called terminal demo. And if you do ls, you can see terminal demos there and hello.c, and you can actually see it in the Finder window. So there's the hello.c, and then there's terminal demo. You can move it in there like that, or we can do it through terminal. And you just use mv and then hello.c, and then we specify the folder that we want to move it to, and then we do that. Now, if we do ls, you can see it's gone now, and you see it's not there anymore in the Finder. And then we go navigate to the terminal demo, and then we can see here that the hello.c is there. And we can actually use mv to rename hello.c. So you want to rename it, you can do hello.c, or we can make it capitalized, hello.c, like that. And then if you go in here, you look at terminal demo, you can see it now, it's capitalized. Knowing how to create and edit files in terminal is key, because you will eventually run into environments or scenarios where there is no GUI component. Say, for example, servers or SSH, or say you're trying to do some development in a small device or a small computer. There's not going to be an IDE that you can use to do your development. You're going to have to rely on these terminal-based code editors. All right, now let's use GCC to compile our hello.c. And then we do ls, and then you can see there's a new file called a.out. So this is the executable. So this GCC allows us to convert the C file, C code, into an executable. So now we can run this executable a.out. And then there you go, hello world. So there you go, you can compile and run your code with 2 basic terminal commands. You don't have to fire up an IDE and then click around, open up your project, and then run the play button on your IDE. You can just do it with 2 commands. And this is why knowing these terminal commands is really useful. All right, now for some miscellaneous useful commands. So one command that I've been running a lot through this demo is clear. So if you run clear, you can clear your screen so you can have a fresh terminal screen. So here you can start fresh, but if ever you want to go back to see what you had before you did the clear, you can always scroll up and see what was there before. Another useful command is pwd. So pwd just shows the path that you're on. So here it shows me that I'm under users, Henrik, terminal demo. And so if you actually go back to the previous directory, you can do cd ... and then do pwd. And then you can see that we're now in the home directory. And so every time that you open up terminal and you want to know where exactly you are in the file system, you can just run pwd and it'll tell you where in the file system you're located. Another helpful command is history. So you can do history, and then you can see all of the commands that we've run recently. So we've run about 1,010 commands so far recently. So this is just the beginning. Once you're comfortable with these commands, you're also going to want to learn how to search through your code really fast. So I'm going to be covering that in a future video, so make sure you're subscribed if you don't want to miss that. If you want more tips and guidance on how you can use terminal, I've made a bunch of other videos. You can watch this video over here. Alright, like I mentioned earlier, if you're just starting off in your programming journey and you don't know where to start, you can download my 30-day beginner coding challenge. And it's a 30-day guide where I teach you how to build those 4 beginner programming projects. It's really beginner friendly, and I go step by step on how to build each one and go through the tutorials that you need to build each one. So download that in the link in the description. And that's it for this week's video. I hope it really helped you out. And if it did help you out, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any other questions about terminal or any other ideas on videos that I can make that would really help you out, please let me know in the comments section and I'll be sure to answer you there. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.